It happened during late autumn in a small rural town surrounded by thick forests and empty fields. The locals were used to fog rolling in from the nearby river. But one particular night felt different. Around midnight, a dense gray fog slowly covered the roads, houses, and trees until the entire town disappeared into silence. Daniel, a delivery driver, finishing his last route, noticed the fog was unusually thick. His headlights barely reached a few feet ahead. The road he had driven hundreds of times suddenly felt unfamiliar. Air felt colder, heavier, and as he slowed his truck, he realized something was standing inside the fog. At first Daniel thought it was just a person crossing the road. He slowed down and leaned closer to the windshield. A tall shadow stood perfectly still about 20 feet away. The strange part was that the figure didn't move, even as the truck approached. Daniel honked once, expecting the person to step aside. Instead, the silhouette slowly turned its head toward him. Through the fog he could barely make out its shape, but something about its posture looked wrong. Its arms hung too low, almost touching the ground. Daniel felt a sudden chill run down his spine and pressed harder on the brakes. When the truck finally stopped, the figure was gone. Daniel stared at the empty road, confused. There were no footsteps, no movement, only the silent fog drifting across the asphalt. He stepped out of the truck to check if someone had run into the trees nearby. Heard something behind him. A soft scraping sound, like shoes dragging slowly on pavement. Daniel turned around quickly, but the road was empty again. His heart began pounding in his chest as he realized the sound had come from somewhere inside the fog. Daniel quickly got back into the truck and locked the doors. The fog outside seemed Daniel quickly got back into the truck and locked the doors. The fog outside seemed thicker now, pressing against the windows like smoke. As he started the engine, his headlights flickered slightly before stabilizing. He drove forward slowly, trying to leave the strange area behind. After a few minutes, he noticed something disturbing in the side mirror. A tall shape was walking behind the truck. It moved slowly but steadily, always staying just inside the fog. Daniel's stomach tightened. The road was long and straight, yet the figure somehow kept the same distance no matter how fast he drove away. Trying to calm himself, Daniel told himself it must be someone walking along the road. Interior cinematic shot slowly pushing toward the driver as he grips the steering wheel tightly while driving through dense fog. Dashboard lights casting a faint glow on his anxious face, while the windshield shows only drifting gray mist and faint headlights cutting through the darkness. Moving truck. He glanced at the mirror again. The figure was closer now. Its long arms swung strangely with each step. The fog wrapped around its body, hiding most of its features. Daniel pressed the gas pedal harder. The truck accelerated, engine roaring through the quiet night. Yet when he checked the mirror again, the shape was still there. And this time it looked like it was smiling. Suddenly the radio inside the truck crackled to life with loud static. Daniel hadn't turned it. The sound filled the cabin, sharp and unsettling. Then through the static he heard a faint whisper. At first it was too distorted to understand. But after a few seconds the words became clear. Stop the truck. Daniel's hands tightened on the steering wheel. The whisper repeated again, louder this time. Stop the truck. He looked back at the mirror. The figure was now only a few feet behind the vehicle, walking calmly through the fog like it belonged there. Panicking, Daniel slammed his foot on the accelerator and the truck surged forward down the empty highway. The fog rushed past the windows like waves of gray smoke. For a moment he thought he had finally escaped whatever was following him. The mirror showed nothing but swirling mist. Relieved, he slowed down slightly. That's when something slammed hard onto the roof of the truck. The metal above him groaned under the sudden weight. Daniel froze. Slow, heavy footsteps began moving across the roof from the back toward the windshield. Each step echoed inside the cabin like a drumbeat of terror. Daniel's breathing became rapid as the footsteps stopped directly above his seat. The windshield fogged slightly from the cold night air. Then two long, pale hands slowly slid down the outside of the glass. The fingers were unnaturally thin and far too long. They pressed against the windshield like they were trying to feel the warmth inside the truck. Daniel screamed and swerved slightly on the road. The hands remained there for a few seconds, tapping lightly against the glass. Then, just as suddenly as they appeared, they pulled back up into the fog above the vehicle. Daniel didn't stop driving until he reached the bright lights of the next town nearly 30 minutes away. The fog had disappeared completely by then, leaving the sky clear and
calm. His truck shook slightly as he parked near a gas station. When he stepped out, he slowly looked at the roof of the vehicle. Two large handprints were pressed into the metal, deep enough to dent the steel. The prints were long and narrow, with fingers far longer than any human hand. The gas station worker noticed Daniel staring upward and asked if everything was all right. Daniel never told the full story.
Leg. Something feels off.
He only said he had driven through some strange fog on the highway. But months later, other drivers began reporting something similar on that same road. Late at night, when the fog rolls in thick from the river, people sometimes see a tall figure walking inside it. It never runs. It never rushes. It simply walks slowly through the mist. And those who notice it in their mirrors say the same terrifying thing. No matter how fast they drive, the figure in the fog always keeps up. And sometimes it gets closer.